Welcome to the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. I'm Laurie, your host. And again, I'm going to try to give you some inspiration to help you with your aspirations. And most of all, in this episode, I'm hoping to give you, some hope. The warnings I gave about the Mars ingress into Aries, they don't feel like they were enough, and yet I know as an astrologer reporting what I see coming up doesn't mean I can prevent a damn thing. That's why I try to give you a heads up so you have at least a little emotional safety net. The tragedy that unfolded in Uvalde, Texas is heartbreaking. We could give all the platitudes we want. The more information that comes out, the more just mind-bendingly awful it is. And so it is no surprise that I believe we're going to see a wave of protests over the weekend and into Monday. We have Mars moving towards Jupiter in Aries, and on the 28th, the moon will conjunct Uranus. I'll explain what all of this means in this podcast. We're probably going to see some more surprising events, more shocking events, get some more shocking news, and some of this will be weather, etc. I'm as shook as you are. And yet I know if we lose hope, if we lay down at this point, we're nearing a point where we're going to not have as many options as we head towards the Pluto and Aquarius era. And so we want to take as much action collectively as we can and run with our authority as Saturn is in Aquarius. So, my friends, we're going to talk about what can be done and how we can support one another and those who cannot necessarily advocate in the same way for themselves, even if they believe differently than us. Not everybody has the privilege of an education or an understanding of just what's at stake here. And so we don't need to try to explain it to people, but there is, because we don't want to be pedantic and we don't want to protolize and we don't want to do that. But there are actions we can take, and we need to take direct action at this point. We're running really close to a deadline, folks, really close to a deadline. And I normally don't try to make things urgent. So you know that about me. If you've been listening, if you're new, just understand I do my best to keep everything on an even keel. But my God, we've got a window in time we need to take action on. And if that window closes, there's a Malcolm. If that window closes, there will be another. But it'll be a smaller window. We've got a nice big barn door to take action on right now. And I'll talk about that in this podcast. So, let's get to the episode. Let's talk about May 28th and 29th first, and then I'll talk about the type of actions you can take, what's available in our Discord to help, and how we can support one another right now in our local communities, and why that focus is essential right now. So the podcast was recorded live on YouTube, and there is some extra special content there on how to deal with this energy based on your rising sign. That's not included here on the podcast. You can go to my YouTube channel, linked in the description, to get more of that content. I normally reserve the behind the scenes for patrons, but we went public and Mercury retrograde got involved because my third party software decided to glitch a Rudy all over. My mic is fine, my computer is fine. That leaves the software. So that's why I look like a green alien on the YouTube. You can check that out and even make fun of me by going to the link in my bio. Alright. It's a tough episode, guys, because these are some tough times. So deep breaths, much love, and I hope to see you in the Discord where we can support one another. All right, it's going to be, it's just going to be intense over the next couple of days. We have the moon in Taurus. It is going to conjunct Uranus at 8 a.m. Pacific. Okay, that is 11 Eastern, okay, 10 Central. And at the same time, Venus is moving into Taurus. Now, on an individual level, some of this is amazing energy. On a mass consciousness level, we're focusing on our security. What makes us feel secure and comfortable? And none of us are feeling comfortable right now, regardless of our economic circumstances, our socioeconomic status. There is a lot of intensity in the energy, and partly because Mars slid into Aries on the 24th, and on the 29th, it will have an exact conjunction with Jupiter, but that means it's conjunct now. It's approaching, and approaching means exactly what it sounds like. This is big, volatile energy. Mars is action, and at the lowest end of the energy expression, Mars is violence, okay? And we saw that. And then add that to Jupiter, right? And Jupiter is the great magnifying force. And so that is, it's a lot. It's a lot. So one of the things, there are many advanced practices I could give. One of those is transmutation of energy, but I'm not going to do that on a live stream. I might teach that in a class to people who have some advanced, because it's intense. So easy level, taking a break, turning off the news, okay? Turning off the news, listening quietly, not to any noise, but just your own breathing. Bring yourself back to the moment. If you're tired, take a nap. If you're tired, go to sleep for a little bit. But then get back up. You could do some cleaning. We want to put the big feelings into actions, okay? We want to put the big feelings into actions. If you garden, getting out in the garden. How is this energy work? Well, most practiced energy workers will tell you their antidote to big energy is doing mundane activities. And since the moon is in Taurus, this is a good time, even though it'll be conjunct Uranus, it's a good time to do mundane tasks, okay? It'll be a good time to do mundane tasks. Now, if you're feeling really overwhelmed, you can use, you might want to do some clearing. And again, one of my favorites is taking an Epsom salt bath. But you can also use, I like to burn a little bit of rosemary for clearing. Do it safely. I like to light incense, and I'll light candles, okay? Follow your intuition. Use your brain when it comes to safety. I also do like to tend my plants. I just like to go sit with my plants. If you're in an area where you can hug a tree, go hug a tree, okay? Your extra energy or your extra sads aren't gonna hurt the tree, okay? So, and this is where you have to make yourself do something. So you want to get up if you're feeling very, very overwhelmed. then you need to get up and go do something. You need to go hug a tree, get your hands in the dirt if you can. These are the type of things that are really, really important. Okay. So here's the other thing. When we're looking at the energy of tomorrow morning on the West Coast, so it happens at 8 a.m. Pacific, that's 10 a.m. Central. Obviously, we're having an eye on Texas, right? Obviously, we're having an eye on Texas. It's important to be aware. If there's protests, there may be pushback. Okay, there may be pushback. We might have some more disturbing news. Now, there could also be some weather. Okay, some big weather, and I'm kind of looking at the southeast of the United States for that, and the Caribbean. So it's kind of like, how stuff comes in waves, my family always used to say things came in threes. Well, I think over the weekend we'll have some more stuff happen. So it's really important to just kind of plant yourself, understand we are living in volatile times. And I'm going to read what I wrote as the remedy that I know as the easiest thing you can do. And you're going to feel selfish doing it. I want you to know right now, it's not selfish to do it. And I explain why. If you don't have a bath, you can shower with Epsom salts body scrub, okay? Or soak your feet in a tub. Like if you have a little, a big enough bowl to put your feet, right? And you can soak, and you can get even body scrub with Epsom salts in it as well. Sea salts also work. So let me grab what I wrote for Patreon. And alrighty. And this is just my Taurus moon thoughts. The mundane forecast, I'm not going to read that, or the what I think is going to be in the headlines. That I'm reserving for Patreon and the patrons. And again, if you're listening to this live as we record, thank a patron. Without them, we wouldn't have a podcast. So this is what I wrote actually in the early hours of this morning, May 27th, like 1 or 2 when I started writing this. So Moon and Taurus thoughts. I feel heavy right now. I've resisted writing this forecast. The collective is screaming. And I would love to just curl up in bed and put the covers over my head. I won't, because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to teach. And the very best way I know how to teach is to show my human nature and explain how I walk through the muck we all walk through. Just because I know why I'm here, just because I know I've volunteered to be on the planet thousands of lives and will again, doesn't mean I don't have very real emotions, visceral reactions, and have to use all the tools in my toolbox to keep moving. The other day, I was asked if there really is spiritual warfare. I normally hedge the question because of how often people use this idea for no good end. But I did answer it this way. Thoughts are energy. The more times a thought is fed, the stronger it gets. So every thought that's ever been thought exists. So of course, every concept exists. Some people call this egregore. Another term, far less foreboding sounding, is thought forms. Thought forms are energized by thinking about them. So, is there spiritual warfare? Only if you're fighting it. Right now, there's a pull to be brought into a fight. Don't fall for it. I've felt the pull as much as you. Maybe I'm even more sensitive to it because I can discern the tendrils of thought forms floating about. Energy flows where attention goes. So why would I put my energy into the fight? Because the thought forms trying to draw us into a fight are fed by it. When I say the most radical thing you can do is love yourself, I am not being cute. I'm being dead serious. When you can be your own support, your own cheerleading section, when you can understand your value and know your worth, then it doesn't matter what else happens. You are uncontrollable. Am I saying do nothing? No, I am not saying do nothing. I'm saying don't allow yourself to be swept up into despair, exhaustion, apathy, or hopelessness. Channel your anger, rage, and resentment into action that does more to heal than harm. This is strong energy, and I know a lot of you just woke up. I know it's confusing. I know it can be overwhelming. I have lived a lifetime of being awake, and I sometimes still struggle with the pull and tug of energy because being awake isn't enough. It takes training. It takes practice. It takes focus. The moon in Taurus is a time to focus on what makes us feel secure. Don't look at where you feel unsafe. Don't look at where you feel unloved. Don't buy into the narrative designed to generate fear, because that's what feeds that which does not serve. And I'm not saying don't protest. I'm saying stand on what does serve you. Okay? Deliberately make a list of what you physically have that helps you feel safe. My examples are, I have a lovely bed with soft blankets and pillows that I feel secure in when I go to sleep. B, my house is warded and my guides are present. I am always protected. C, my house is well secured and I have a watchful community. 2, look at what you do have that makes you feel secure. Make a list. A, my pantry is full. I have extra to donate to those in need. B, my garden is growing and there will be plenty of things I like to eat soon. C, I have enough money coming in and my bills are covered. 3, list your relationships and connections. My adult children enjoy connecting with me. That feels good. My boyfriend will make himself available if I need him to come. I have built an amazing community full of people who care. Is this ignoring reality when you write this list? No, it's enforcing security. It's showing you what is taken care of, how you're taken care of, even if you aren't where you want to be yet. It is as much reality as anything else. And when you can ground into this, you can still have empathy for those who suffer without leaving yourself open to manipulation who will seek to overpower will with emotion. By journaling what is good and right, and I really suggest you do that this evening, you are more able to keep a steady pace. Because if there is a fight between good and evil, right and wrong going on, or sides to choose, well, let's just say staying grounded is the best way to align with the force. When you look at the dark side, careful you must be, for the dark side looks back. Yoda. Okay? And I quoted Yoda because Yoda is basically a ripoff of Buddha. But it's a very, very important thing to remember. I'm not telling you don't care. I'm telling you get grounded as much as you can so you can take action. This is really, really important because if you're ungrounded, there is so much energy coming with the transit tomorrow. It's easy to get swept up and this very revolutionary kind of energy. And as much as we do need change, we need grounded change. Okay? It's easy to talk tough. We've all been sold a bill of goods when we watch the media and movies, and we've heard the rhetoric of, huzzah, here you go. But that's not how reality works, okay? So when we look at conflict, it destroys countries. We don't want that. Also, I don't believe that we need to put up with being hurt either. So it's a middle ground. The more you're grounded, the better. So use whatever techniques normally work for you, but do put your focus on where you feel secure. Now, those were my examples. You have your own. Okay. There were reasons I chose that. Like, for years and years and years, I had a crappy mattress. I was raising my kids and I was putting my money into them and their future, and my mattress sucked. So when I bought my new bed, I got a nice new mattress, and that was something that just, it was wonderful. So that's why the bed is on my list. It's something that I did for myself that I feel good about. You'll have things for you. They don't have to be huge, right? They don't have to be huge. Okay, but you do have to feel good about them and about yourself. Don't focus on what isn't there. That's the most important thing I can tell you. Don't focus on what isn't there. You'll be like, yeah, but there's all this bad stuff happening in the world, Laurie. Yeah, there is. There is. And we all get notice of it instantly. Okay? But if we want to make positive, proactive change, that means somebody's got to stay sane, right? Right? So there's a lot of big energy up on deck, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. If you feel utterly exhausted, take a nap. Just take a nap. Maybe you're benched for this round, okay? One of the other things you can do, and the description will be in the podcast, the link will be in the podcast description, is I've got a link to our all of our resources. One of those is the Discord. We have a public area where you can find out how to reach your representatives. There's suggested scripts. We compiled a list of resources that are already done by organizations that already exist. I will also, in the description for this podcast, I will have a text number available if you are feeling overwhelmed, anxious, depressed. If this is shaking your mental health, I have a text crisis line you can text. You do not have to be having thoughts of unlifing yourself. It can just be you're really overwhelmed and you're having a hard time with the news. Don't go it alone. One of the ways we do create security is having community together. And so I was looking up some mental health resources to help, because a lot of people are really shook, and rightly so. We've had a horrible event happen, and there's going to be some reactionary behavior out there in the world. And I don't consider the protests reactionary. Okay, I think there's going to be reaction to the protests, and that's what I'm concerned about. So if you are protesting, please do be extra aware of your surroundings, okay? Extra aware, and don't second guess that intuition. Now, if you're traveling for Memorial Day weekend, understand that traffic is going to be crazy. Okay, Mercury is retrograde. The North Node is still in a trine with Pluto, and Mercury is in trine with Pluto. So Mercury retrograde is trine Pluto retrograde. Expect terrible traffic tomorrow. It's going to be very, very volatile. So keep your eyes open, guys. Keep your eyes open. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to talk to the audience here for a little bit, answer some questions, and then we'll come back with a patron shout out, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what you can expect through 2020, because I'm going to be harping on July. Okay, end of July, early August. I know everybody's tired of world events happening around us, but guess what? We're living in interesting times. Suck it up, buttercups, because we're the ones who make it better. So it is determined. That's why the most radical thing you can do is love yourself, Recognize where you are secure, because the more we get driven into feeling scared, the more we're rendered immobile, and we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to be immobile. We want to be able to take action, and this is definitely a time where we need to be as deliberate as possible. Alrighty, so let me give this a pause. All right, as always, the patrons deserve the credit for the podcast. The patrons deserve the podcast credit. There we go. I know there was a clickety-clack. So we are going to do a patron shout-out. I'm super excited. We've reached over 400 patrons, guys. That is an amazing thing. So I always read our newest patrons' names as a big thank you for making this podcast possible. So we've got Angela, Brianna, Julia, Claudia, Sarah, that's Malcolm shaking, Keisha, Dawn, Nicole, Shelby, Jamie, Miranda, Brett, Allison, Kendra, Heather, Olu, Leanne, Stephanie, Louisa, Laura, Mina, Rochelle, Maggie, Layla, Catherine, Wendy, Paige, Nicole, Sarah, Lou, Harmony, Brittany, Kelly, Vicky, Beth, Sibstar, Jackie, Rianne, Renee, Maria, Tara, Carrie, another Carrie, Jackie or Jacqueline, Allie, Kamal, Kristen, Allison, Dee, and Rachel. Oh my gosh. How cool is that? So many new people. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being a patron. Without you, there is no me, and I know this podcast does a lot of good in the world. I get so many emails and thank yous. So thank you guys. Let's see. I'm going to take on some of these questions here in the comments on the live stream here on YouTube. Let's see. The overwhelm has been heavy. I called out sick for a mental health day. You do need it. You do. It's really important to take time. We are expected to be productive no matter what. By the way, productivity has nothing to do with your value. Taurus isn't about being productive. Everybody loves to say Taurus energy is lazy. Taurus energy isn't lazy. Taurus energy just doesn't do something it doesn't want to do. There's a big difference. If you're a control freak, authoritarian figure, and you're trying to make somebody do something they don't want to do, and they're like, man, which really is a Taurus response, then you're going to say, oh, they're lazy. They're not. They're just not going to do anything they don't want to do. It's okay. We cannot expect people to have a collective moment and then be like, okay, get back to normal. When I was doing the Astro Alert for the 28th and 29th, on the 25th, I got a hold of the month. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to give an alert after an event like that. I don't want to add more stress. And so that's why I just did one with music and pointing to the screen, because I was like, if I tell people, hey guys, this is volatile, good God, everybody's nerves are done. Right? So, that's what it is. Oh, we see a Maverick. Hey, Maverick. Oh, they say thank you. Take care and good night. Good night, Maverick. Thank you so much for being here. And so, it's been nuts. So, thanks to the patrons. Take care of yourselves as best as you can. The moon's in Taurus, so eat some yummy, healthy food. Take a walk, go hug a tree if you can, sit in a garden. I wouldn't be in crowds. Okay? I wouldn't be in crowds. All right. So let's talk just briefly after this. We're going to talk about just a little bit more of navigating the energy. Just navigating the energy. Yeah. So I think I'm just going to, if you guys want to put some questions about the energy or how it's going on, or questions about how you can be a support or be supported through this time, I think that's what we're going to do here at the end of the podcast. So you're welcome, Laura. She says, thank you for the BTS and behind the scenes. That's right. I like doing the behind the scenes. I think it's fun, you know. So, and I like to be able to connect with you guys. And by the way, if you're a patron, we have Coffee with Laurie this Sunday. Remember, that's our Zoom meeting. The link is in Patreon. You got it in your emails if you joined before like 3 this morning. Justine, you've been feeling very heavy too, crying and angry. Yeah, and you don't want to leave your house. That's okay. You don't have to leave your house. You can make your home your safe space. You want to clear the energy though, because if there's any like kind of like fearful energy, and this is why you're staying, stay because it's comfy and you've made yourself a safe nest. You know, there's a little difference in that vibration. Yeah, it is heavy. You know, I didn't want to write the forecast. I didn't want to write the mundane forecast. I didn't want to say what I thought was going to be in the headlines. Those were babies, you know. And then the more information that comes out, it shouldn't have to get that way to make change to have decency. And I don't think decency is radical. I just don't. I think that people having decent housing, decent wages, enough food, I don't think any of that's radical. I think that's just how life should be. We're all renting time on the planet, you know. And so, yeah, it was big, it was huge, and it was hard. And it still is. It still is, you know. Like I said, what did me in was having a beautiful conversation with my adult daughter and just thinking, oh my God, they're never going to get to do that. You know, it still tears me up. So, you know, we have our spiritual life and we have our physical life. So, questions for the noobs, looking for advice for how to shield yourself. Okay, so first of all, it's kind of like anytime you resist something, it gets stronger. So one of the things is you want to take out the, I don't want to feel it. And so I use rings, okay? And you can use any ring. They don't have to be special. You don't have to know anything about crystals. If you do, you add to it, but you can just pick any kind of ring. And so I just put intentions with them. So like I use this ring for shielding, and I'm going to say energy work is a lot like being a kid and playing with your imagination. Okay. So I'm like, the reason I chose this for a shield ring, I was like, this is something Wonder Woman would wear, you know, and you want to use that enthusiasm that this is a cool ring. This is obviously a magic ring. It doesn't even have to be super high quality, you know. I have this ring. This is a hematite band. This is $1. Okay. This was not $1, but this is $1, right? Hematite is very, very grounding. So if you can get like a band, that'll help. Crystals are very good at helping us ground and shield. And then I have my amethyst ring. Okay. So, and then I put intentions for this. So this is more just of a loving protection. So anything coming at me just gets filtered. Anything that doesn't serve me. We can also create kind of mental constructs, okay, with our thoughts. So I like to imagine I have a bubble around me, but I'm not good with just having a bubble. Yes, I have the white light. You can imagine a big sphere of white light all around you, but I also have kind of like, you know, those bug zappers that that are like tennis rackets. So imagine you've got the bug zapper mesh
and it's around it. So any kind of zappy, it's there. Now, if I forget about that for a while, I need to refresh it, just like when we put a ward on our doors, and you can do that with oil or chalk or something. You don't have to use anybody else's symbols. You can just follow your intuition. We all have ancestors who were into natural energy work. You can ask for guidance. The biggest thing is trust it. Trust your natural intuition. We're all intuitive, So those are some good questions. If you're listening on the podcast, you've missed me waving my hands in the air. The rings I was describing is an onyx silver ring I wear on my right ring finger, and it's a very magical ring. The hematite band is just a cheapo hematite ring. It's not the value or the price that you spend on the item that matters. It's the intention that you put into it. Now, I don't use amethyst for protection. That's not its qualities, okay? It is love, and I infuse the protection I already have going with that. The onyx is a good protector stone. So, but you don't even have to know all of that, But usually if you buy these things at a metaphysical store, they'll tell you the properties or have little cards that have them in. Or if you buy off an Etsy store, they often have descriptors. So those are things. But you know what? If you don't have time to get to a metaphysical store and you want to deal with it, you have to deal with it tomorrow, and you've got gravel, grab a handful of gravel, put it in your pocket. That'll help ground you. That's just good old basalt rock. Good old basalt rock is grounding. Granite as well. If you can get to a beach or you want to deal with the traffic for that, getting your feet in the sand is good too. So all of those things are good techniques for grounding. So it's wild and woolly energy, guys. It's wild and woolly energy. The thing I want most for everyone is to be as safe as possible. I'm not saying don't stand up, don't take action. Absolutely. When I tell you stay focused on what makes you feel secure, that is a way of shielding yourself as well, because it's very hard to attack a stable person. Okay, so if you're stable, okay, and I'm not talking about physical attack, I'm talking about energy. But even then, if you plant yourself, you're hard to push, My son was or still is a martial artist, and that was one of the things they learned was in sparring, not dealing with weaponry coming at you. But if you're standing firm, it's harder to move you around, and there's a lot of energy up on deck, and the media is galvanizing, and some of it's being done at least in a good tone, but there's other stuff that's going to generate more fear, and we don't need that to the excess. I think we all are very, very aware of how serious everything is. I don't think we need that constantly generated. So the more grounded you are, the better action you can take. But I want to thank all of you for joining me. I might go back onto TikTok in a little bit, but I wanted to get this podcast recording done and wrapped up, and I have to edit it. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you in the Discord. All of the resource information I talked about will be in the description. Thank you so much, and I'll keep this up on YouTube so you can refer to it. Take care.